Hi, I'm Johnny Marques, and welcome to the All Knowing Podcast. We all have people we admire, heroes, people we look up to, people we try to emulate. At the All Knowing, we look into people's personalities by using different systems such as numerology, astrology, and life charts. A deep dive in a persona, if you will. It is our hope that we can help break down what makes a person, who they are, their traits, their actions, and their possible beliefs. And in doing so, help you understand if you have similar virtues. Thank you for watching and enjoy the show. Hey there, welcome to another episode of the All Knowing Experience. I'm Johnny Marques, and today we're going to do a profile on an actor that did over $6.5 billion, which ranks him number 9. Some say that he is the most versatile actor performer in recent years in Hollywood, and that is Will Smith. We are going to do a deep dive in what makes him tick, who he is. A little background, growing up, he had an abusive father who was really hard on him, which gave him a really strong work ethic and made him someone who always wanted to be the best at everything that he did. He was the first rapper in history to win a Grammy at 17. His SATs got him into MIT, and he sort of had a riches to rags experience because after all that fame, he spent all the money and ended up owing IRS and pretty much had no money until he met super producer Benny Medina, who introduced him on the spot to Quincy Jones at a Hollywood party and had to audition on the spot for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And after the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he has many wins such as another Grammy and many movies such as Men in Black. He's done things such as Bad Boys 2, Hancock, Pursuit of Happiness, tons and tons of wins. I mean, all the way up to recently won an Oscar for King Richard, which got him in a little bit of hot water with a little episode that happened on stage with physically hitting Chris Rock. So there's lots to dive into to find out what makes him tick, who he is, how is he so powerful, what has made him pretty much one of the strongest actors, performers in Hollywood. So let's speak with Joseph. Joseph, are you there?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Johnny, for the great intro.
Excellent. Thank you. So we have September 25th, Philadelphia, and you probably have the time as well there. What are you seeing? What can you tell us?
Well, Will Smith is just really a remarkable icon of guy next door, perfect blackness in a white world. He has Gemini rising, which is very fun and friendly and interactive and restless. He's kind of like hyper. It's always on the go. He's also born in the year of the monkey in Oriental astrology. The rising sign is very important. It's even more important sometimes than the sun sign, which in his case is in Libra, which shows that he has strong social conscience and that he's very charming towards people. And he can, he's the kind of guy you can bring home to mother, and she may think that he's a rapper, so he's no good, but then she'll end up laughing at his charming dialogue in no time at all and end up loving him and begging him to marry her daughter. He's like the guy next door. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is the classic kind of trading places story, which is very Gemini. And also it explores Libran social mores, in that you have a switch, a change. You got the bad down rapper all of a sudden is the teacher of the hoi polloi, or the elite, I should say, in how to be cool, because everybody wants to be cool. America wants to be cool, and that the teachers of how we are to be cool are Black people, African Americans. America's chart, born July 4th, 1776, has north node of the moon in Leo, which is the sign that relates most to the African American, even the lion of Africa. So we all talk like Black people when we're hip and not when we're not hip. We all want to be cool. We all want to dance. We all want to listen to rap and have our favorite rap singers. And rap has tremendously influenced everything. And this guy was so PC in his rap, he's kind of like Pat Boone, who's a Gemini, doing a cover of Tutti Frutti, which is originally Little Richard's song. I mean, this guy can mainstream anything. He could probably make a dog do hip, he's just so, and we love him because he's like so likable. What's the key to his likability? Well, for one thing, he's so sensitive. He's a sweetheart. He's adorable. You can just see so many African-American matrons just wanting to cuddle with him and rub his head and tell him he's sweet and nice and he's their baby, because he's perpetual teenager. That's Gemini rising, perpetual teenager, like, Errol Flynn, Paul McCartney, they're like, perpetual little kids. And he also has what we call the dark moon Lilith, which most astrologers don't even know about. Lilith, in a dark moon of Earth. It's more powerful than the whole rest of the chart combined, actually. Leading astrologers know about this, but that's about 1 in 1,000. At any rate, his Lilith in Cancer, which is a sign of emotion and feeling and sensitivity, and his being born in the great tradition, sacred symbols of the ancients, okay, which I recommend for any serious occultist or astrologer or reader. Sacred symbols of the ancients, that tradition says by his birth date that he's the Queen of Hearts.
Where is the determination and drive coming from? Do you think that's something that's taught, or do you think that's something that comes out from the chart?
Well, the chart only reveals aspects of human nature. It does not create who you are. Rather, it reveals who you are. And everybody has a different personality, like a snowflake, which looks a bit like an astrology chart. The deal with Will Smith and, numerology, everything shows similar signatures. For example, your question was about the chart. Yeah, well, it's the Libra that's very important. He's got moon in Scorpio. You notice how in all his movies, he plays kind of a wounded crybaby up to a point, and then he turns around and he's macho and aggressive. Like Men in, one of my favorite movies by Will Smith. He just turns in a bravura performance. He's always kind of crying and whining in the movie. Oh, yeah, he's like, you're like a kid. You can't call me a kid. You can't call me slick. Okay, slick, And he's got a Virgo partner, which is Tommy Lee Jones, who is not about to kiss his duff and be all sweet and nice to him, but he's a Libra. He insists on social nicety. Mr. Smith does. And so even the name Will Smith, Smith is all American name. It's like, your next door neighbor, Smith. And Will, he has a will of a Smith. What does that mean? It means he has no will. He's just a guy who wants to be nice and get along. He's the guy next door. Now, maybe he will one day get along because he's always trying to get along. He's always trying to fit in. His also W is the first letter. ITH are the last 3 letters. What does that spell? With. He wants to be with you. I want to be with you. I want to be with you. So, he's all about getting.
So what did you do? What did you do that just then? What is that? Is that a?
It's kind of an anagram, part anagram. What I like to do with my clients, I go to the anagram features online, and I type in their name in the box and I see all the words that come up. And the words often figure into their life because the words are very important. Okay. Like, your name is Johnny Marques, and the first three are M-A-R, last is S. What does that spell? Mars. Are you at times an aggressive, outspoken, self-confident Mars type of individual? Would you say, Johnny?
Sometimes. Of course.
So you're secretive. You don't want to reveal any weaknesses. You got Lilith conjunct your sun too. So you're like a sorcerer, which is all these words, by the way: Scorpio, secretive, sassy, sexy.
And he has that in his chart. You're saying the Scorpio's in his
chart? Yeah. What he is, like Julie Andrews, for example, he's the lightweight Scorpio with the heavyweight moon. Lightweight Libra with the heavyweight moon in Scorpio. You notice how when he finally gets that gun in Men in Black, he really likes to shoot it. He's really like terrorize the neighborhood, and he's got this little teeny gun, and of course it backfires, and he goes off into like some aliens or something. But so his chart, the main things in the chart are the sun, the rising sign, and the moon, generally in that order of significance. He's a Libra. 3 levels to Libra, the system I've developed for every sign. The 3 levels of Libra are lightweight, heavyweight, and liberator. Lightweight is Charlie Brown, Mr. Nice Guy, or Julie Andrews, once again, in The Sound of Music. Just really nice, sweet, get along with you. They never push you around. They're ruled by Venus, very loving, okay, and polite. Then you got the heavyweight, which is like George Papard and the Carpetbaggers, or like Linda Darnell. Oh, who's a more current example? Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was a master of consensus building of the Allies, which is Libra, is a bridge bringing people together. See, the teeter-totter, follow lead, follow lead, follow lead, turns into pistons, aggressive, nice, aggressive, nice, aggressive, nice, turns into a propeller where you find the liberator like John Lennon, who was very nice, but also very aggressive, outspoken. That's why they killed him, if they killed him. But at any rate, he was very much a humanitarian, and he would kill for peace in a sense. So also Mohandas Gandhi, bringing together the Hindus and the Muslims to save his country by being at the fulcrum point as a apparently weak, but actually a very strong human being. Johnny, you have a question?
So in 2017, I have here, he started his own YouTube channel. And at the time I got this report, which is definitely way more than this, but in 2017, he had over 200 million views. And I found myself following some of his inspirational quotes and things that the lessons that he learned. Is that coming from Libra? Where's the teacher? I want to inspire, I want to uplift humanity, was my interpretation of in something that interested me. That, with everything that's been going on lately, it's so, and we'll get to that where is this flip coming from? Because this guy seemed to be creative and loving and just a positive beacon of light. And where does it, let's address that. Where did that come from? Where in his chart, or what parts do you see that he wanted to be a teacher or an uplifter?
Well, actually, you have like 2 parts to that question. Where do you want to be a teacher? Libras by nature are social uplift vehicles. The scales uplifts, it's buoyant. They have tremendous social consciousness. It's the sign of social idealism. Eleanor Roosevelt was promoting racial rights long before it was fashionable. Mohandas Gandhi, equal rights between Muslim and Hindu. Susan Sarandon, involved in every liberal cause of her day, along with her Libra boyfriend of the time. What was his name again? Tim
Robbins?
Tim Robbins, excuse me, yeah.
Right.
I mean, the list, you could go on and on, Libras. They're just the highest minded, nicest people. Are they always nice? No, because sometimes they get this idea, no more Mr. Nice Guy. People are taking advantage of me. And then they have to be assertive. Okay, they can be aggressive. You put your thumb on the lightweight scale, the heavyweight scale smacks, comes up to smack you one. And so that's the way Libras are. They can be real passive aggressive at times. It's like, I'm so nice. Why are you such a crude barbarian? You're really getting on my nerves. That's not the fork you use with the salad, so they become hoity-toity on you. And they'll kill you with kindness. It's the opposite sign from Aries, which is a Mars sign, which is aggressive, like Marlon Brando, Steve McQueen, warriors, Xena, all Aries. But the Libra is polite. They sip tea with their pinky up, and they're beautiful people. Often the women are just often incredibly beautiful, and the men are incredibly suave. You got Marcello Mastroianni, like one of the most cosmopolitan, suave guys. Yves Montand, Johnny Carson, who was very charming, totally charming. And then you got beautiful women like Julie Andrews, Bridget Bardot, just really gorgeous. And they have smiles. The Libra trademark is the smile. And of course, our guy, Will has a grandstand smile. So he's
But
just
kind of reminds me of the Cheshire Cat.
Yeah, the Cheshire Cat.
Yeah.
Or Jimmy
Okay.
Carter, who was a previous president known for his great smile. Johnny
Right.
Carson, great smile. They
Okay.
it's like scales. They uplift everything, and they give you value. They're the best listeners of the zodiac. They really let you get on your pedestal. Now you'll notice in the roles, because he's also born in the year of the monkey, which is ruled by Sagittarius in the Western system, according to my system. And monkeys are great dancers and athletes. They're always on the go, very restless, very popular, very energetic. So Will Smith is a acrobat. Particularly you see that in Men Are From Mars. I mean, he's all over the set, doing tumbles and up and down, back and forth, dancing. Great natural dancer. So the year of the monkey with Libra combined, Gemini rising, and Moon in Scorpio. Another Libra with Moon in Scorpio was Julie Andrews. Very charming. Started out as a singer in her youth, and but she had Moon in Scorpio, which came out in the movie Victor Victoria, where she plays like a would-be drag queen kind of character.
But where are you seeing? Where is this coming from? Where is hit after hit after hit in everything that he touches? I mean, what are you seeing there? That
one word, likability. He's likable, like so many Libras, even the first two letters, likable and Libra. They lift you up. They're on the A list, whatever. But at any rate, he is likable. Why? He's kinetic and he's very emotional. He whines a lot. Cancerian actors often have a great ability, and he has Lilith in Cancer. Most astrologers would know that. They often have a great ability to express fear and emotion. He has very delicate, nuanced expressions for fear, emotion, affection. He is an emotional telegrapher. He's an emotional telegraph. And so he's perfect for movies which exaggerate everything. He's not as great on TV because that's more of an auditory medium and they don't exaggerate little nuanced facial moves. He's the perfect movie actor because not only is he extremely expressive facially with the most delicate of nuances, but he also is extremely kinetic. He's all over the place and he is physical and you enjoy watching his body move because he's so graceful, but then he can be also gracefully awkward because he's a genius. The man is a genius of self-expression and he deserves every penny he makes. Is he a little weird? Oh yeah. Libras can be, by the way, because they're so straight, they're weird. He so much wants to be politically correct that he doesn't know how to just be a normal guy. But then he turns around and he's a normal guy. He's a chameleon.
I get a lot that he wants to please. He's
Yeah,
always trying to please. He's looking for acceptance. I mean, the guy's, at the top of his game, but he's
yeah.
still searching for that acceptance. You see anything in the chart that
That's Libra. They want to
Libra?
fit in. The saddest person is a Libra who got blackballed from Facebook. They will kill themselves because
Is
they
that
really connect to everybody. They want to be popular, and they're insecure because the sun is exalted in Aries, the opposite sign, so it's considered a little weak in Libra. Libras can be strong. I mean, the heavyweight Libra, like Charlton Heston, or George Papard once again, they're tough. Okay, the highest level is a world transformer. They're great leaders. They're sweet and tough. They're light and heavy because it's light and heavy. Libras don't want to be lightweights. That's what they hate. They hate to be socias. A soc is somebody who curries favor just to fit in with the in crowd. And so I remember a great movie by Antonioni, um, um, where the artist, the name will come to me, the artist he witnesses a murder. He's a photographer. Blow Up is the name. He's a photographer, but he doesn't want to report it because it'll cause trouble. So he ends up just joining a mime game with a pretend tennis ball, and that's the end of the movie. They don't want trouble, but they always cause trouble. Libra causes a lot of trouble because they always get offended by rude behavior. And most behavior is, compared to theirs, somewhat rude. And you'll notice that with Will Smith, like you notice how he always gets pissed off at the Virgo, Tommy Lee Jones, who is never polite to him, never treats him with respect, says crude and aggressive things, challenges his capacities, never gives him respect. And that's what Libras hate. And we all identify with that. But we would like to be Will Smith because he leads an exciting life as a monkey running around. And in his Oscar-winning performance, like so many lightweight actors who go heavyweight, he goes from being just a lightweight guy to being a tough tennis coach. He's now domineering and aggressive and streetwise. He's salty. He's no more Mr. Nice Guy. He's not drinking tea with his pinky up. And so, Libra's got that hard edge, but most of them never really bring it out that much, except when they're dealing with people who get on their nerves, which does happen fairly frequently. They know polite behavior and they hate impolite behavior, and they'll kill for peace.
Right. So do you think that he's sensitive to the people that come into his life? One thing being that, I mean, there's so much feedback, especially lately, about the influence of his wife. I'm seeing September 18th. Does that make her a Libra as well?
Oh, she's a Virgo, Jaden. And she has a critical side. A lot of people call her telegraph exasperation with Chris Rock's jokes. And that was observed by Will Smith, which may have motivated him to go up there and give Chris his just desserts. Not that violence is justifiable, but I've watched a lot of footage in my life, and I strongly believe that whole thing was staged, because I don't believe the slap actually connected. And Chris Rock, when he got slapped, he didn't do what everybody does when they get slapped. He didn't reach up and touch his face.
Yeah, interesting observation. Are you thinking that, because I personally, I mean, I followed the guy's career since the beginning to end, and also look up to him and was admired a lot of the positive messages that he was putting out. But lately, he just seems a tad bit insecure, a tad bit darker. I mean, what do you see? What's going on? Do you think it's the influence of Virgo? Do you like what?
Yeah, Libras, be careful if you're going to marry a Virgo. I'm a Virgo. We can be or a mate.
You dark?
Yeah, I got
No.
and Moon in Leo, so I got a lot of showbiz, but I
Wow.
also and ego, but I also got Virgo methodicalness and analytical sharpness, but
Right.
also criticism is a classic Virgo ploy. So yeah, he's got Jada Pinkett Smith, who is also standing in his shadow. She's nowhere near as successful as he is, and she is probably telling him how to act, how to do things. Probably and he's got a little boy thing. He's got Gemini rising. He's a perpetual teenager. So yeah, and also I believe he's going through a lot of social pressures, and he's getting older. Probably, Hollywood is nothing but insecurity anyway. He's probably got
Right.
his managers, PR people telling him he should do this or he should do the opposite. And also, he's very aware of we're in a very politically weird time. This reminds
Right.
me of the days of Juan Perón in Argentina, where you got right
Right.
left wing at each other's throats, which is
Right.
a lot of right wingers now hate left wingers, and he by
Right.
nature is liberal. So
So let me ask you this: if you were listening to, seek your guidance, what advice would you give him? What would you tell him?
well, I tell him to be himself, and that's the hardest lesson for a Libra because they're always trying to be what they think people will accept. They're often chameleons, particularly with Gemini rising. I tell him to calm down and get in touch with his spiritual values and mindfulness and to nurture his relationship, but also to, remember who he is, that he's a man. He's here to be, giving a good example. That slap, whether real or faked, I mean, it's funny because, I mean, they barred him from the Oscars for 10 years because of that slap. That kind of puts the lie to the idea it was fake. So I'm not absolutely sure, but it sure looked like a fake slap to me in order to raise the Oscar ratings. But
Yeah.
none, he has to be genuine. He has to settle down in himself and know who he is. And his role in King Richard was one of the ways that he could do that by being a mature adult. By
Right.
being,
It's so funny. It's so funny when I first saw the film, I
yeah,
I was like, he's going to win the Oscar because he was the realest, most grounded performance that I've ever seen him do.
yes,
So he definitely knocked it out of the park on that one. And then unfortunately on the night, all that happened, whether it be planned or not. But let me ask you this: going forward, are you seeing continued success? Does he come back from this?
oh,
How does he come back?
he'll be acting the rest of his life. But I believe also he'll be doing what a lot of serious actors, because he's a very skilled and serious actor. Although he plays light parts generally, he's still very serious artist, great artist. He's a great artist. He'll be probably developing projects with youth and directing and producing. I suspect that will happen. He has been kind of not high on the intellectuality, but he is smart and he has great taste. It reminds me of another Libra who's actually much more intellectual. Um, she did Cocoon. I forget her name all of a sudden. Laverne and Shirley. Laverne, what's her name again? I forget. Uh, anyway, yeah. And also Opie, I forget his name. I should know all these things.
Ron Howard and
Ron Howard, yeah.
Cindy Williams was one of them.
Peggy something, I forget. Yeah. But at any rate, Libras love to bring people together. And he would be the ultimate party host, of course.
Penny Marshall. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, Penny Marshall. So, he'll probably be directing, and it'll be light, fun, but meaningful, social satires with a broad appeal, broad commercial appeal, and he'll be great. He'll create great projects. He also will turn in, actor emeritus performances the whole rest of his life. And he's never going to go out of style. This whole thing, I think, was a big mistake. I think they wanted him to develop his macho side more, maybe. And it just kind of backfired because that's not what real macho is, not hitting somebody or pretending to
Right.
hit.
So but being the Libra that he is, do you see a comeback, obviously. Oh, you know what I wanted to ask you? I know you read faces and stuff. He has such an odd face, I think. What do you see?
Well, his ears stick out,
Right, right.
which is very common for people with great hand-eye coordination. So that makes him he would be great in sports. He'd be great in dancing, of course. He's great in any physical movement activity. And
Right.
he's got round eyes like a little kid. Babies have eyes. As we get older, they tend to go down until they get to like Joe Biden, George Bush, and they become slitty, which is the kind of eye that is very secretive and kind of conservative, like Clint Eastwood has that too. And he has a roundish face. It's he's all curves and motion. And, he has blunt face. It's kind of pressed in. So that means he can be very blunt. He can be very outspoken. His interviews, he's been blunt. And he really goes out on a limb by kissing his son on the lips, but Libras are ruled by Venus.
So, so you're saying they're highly affectionate.
Highly affectionate, and at times, in his case in particular, with Gemini rising, impulsive and foolish. Not recondite. He,
Right.
he has Saturn and Aries opposite his sun too, which is a factor that I can't imagine an actor who is more gracefully polished in his social nuances and more aggressively troublemaking in some of his actions and lines. He likes impact. And
the interesting thing that I was thinking as you were saying that, it's almost that, I mean, he did a role 6 Degrees of Separation, which didn't really do that much, but I mean, it was an amazing, he had so many lines, memorized them all, great memorization. And I think I remember it being about a con artist or something like that, a true story. But that being said, it makes me think that almost he's a master at figuring out the game, figuring out what he needs to do to be the best at everything he does. If he needs to be soft, if he needs to be charming, maybe also a chameleon as well.
Very quickly, yeah.
What's that?
He changes gears very quickly. That's the Gemini rising. Gemini rising is the classic con man. They can be very manipulative, or Gemini in general. Donald Trump is one of the greatest con men who ever lived, but he's also one of the greatest truth tellers who ever lived. He's a negotiator. He's showbiz.
Right.
So the Gemini is playful, and you'll never be bored by a Gemini. You may wish they were a little more predictable sometimes, because they're always two. They go back and forth. Young twin, old twin. Young twin is like Paul McCartney, Errol Flynn, Tony Curtis. Old twins like Henry Kissinger or Donald Trump, more manipulative. The line is, what did you say the name of this game is? Poker? Oh, by the way, does 4 of a kind beat a full house? Read them and weep. So they're tricky. It rules Mercury, who is the thief of the gods. But he was so charming, he talked Apollo into forgiving him and let him keep the cattle in exchange for the caduceus, which is 2 snakes are wound around a rod, which is the symbol of modern medicine, but which is also the symbol of communication. DNA is connected to that. It's amazing. Right. Go ahead.
So Will Smith sees this, and he comes to you and says, Joseph, what do I do going forward?
Well, number one, a man of his artistic accomplishment doesn't need advice from anyone. He will get advice constantly and he will disregard it most of the time because he functions on instinct. And that's what works for him. Okay, passion, impulse, instinct. If he were to come to me with a specific complaint, like the whole world seems to hate me now, what should I do about it? I would say if the whole world loves you, you're probably cool. But if the whole world hates you, you're definitely cool. You know, you have to learn to use your bad publicity. It's like they say, there's no such thing as bad publicity. You know, he should do a commercial where it's like Will Smith will fight for your rights to a clean sink. You know, you should have fun. You know, you know, and because it's all ridiculous, you know, and the fact that he allowed himself, in my opinion, to be put in that situation, I believe by the powers that be, the Oscar powers that be, I could be wrong, but that's what I feel, is, you know, it was foolish, you know, and they did two things. They made him, they increased their ratings and they made him more macho. Because a lot of people think he's a little, you know, a little light in the loafers. You know, he's a kid. Frank Sinatra was a bobby soxer. His career was washed up because he was only a teen idol. And then he starred as a bad boy in From Here to Eternity. And that
well, maybe this is going to be his second phase. Now he's going to play the heavy. Now he's going to play the tough guy.
The lightweight to the heavyweight, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, because you mentioned Frank Sinatra, and it's interesting when you said that. Watching earlier Frank Sinatra films, he was kind of sweet. He was like the sweet kind of with the bow tie,
Bobby,
you know.
They call it.
Yeah. And as he aged and got older, he became the heavy, the Don, you know, like the mafioso, like not to be messed with and all that stuff. So that's a fascinating comparison. I mean, and wouldn't that be interesting that, you know, he has another couple of films. Actually, probably wouldn't be so bad for him to play the heavies or the bad guy.
Well, look at Chris Rock, the last guy in the world who played a heavyweight gangster, kind of aced the role in Fargo, the recent series. Fargo.
Honestly, I didn't like him in that.
I
got to say, I didn't like him in that. It was the only distraction from Fargo.
It's weird casting because Chris Rock is going to have a high-pitched voice.
Right.
And so he's like, I'm a badass gangster. You know.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite sell, you know.
Yeah. No. It was like I
thought he was great, very lovable, very likable. Chris Rock is one of the greatest comedians who ever lived. He's one of the top 10. There's no question.
Right.
Great performer, and also he played a real kind of nasty crackhead in New Jack City. Did you catch that?
Right. Yeah. No, I definitely remember that.
One of the greatest performances I've ever seen.
Great. So I mean, God, going forward, I mean, there's so much to be seen with Will Smith.
His greatest work is still ahead of him. Mostly what he's done is kind of TV movies. You know, it's TV to movies. You know,
right.
Fresh Prince was.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the same formula, though. You know, like it seemed, with the exception of Ali, and you know, like I mean, he's always.
Ali was a brat. Okay, a funny, sarcastic, smart aleck.
Right.
He plays funny, feisty, smart alecks.
But you know what the funny thing is, which is kind of fascinating, is I think of his time, and maybe we should look into this going forward. We should do Ali and compare the two, because of his time, wasn't Ali the highest, I mean, the most marketable, biggest celebrity in the world?
Well, yeah, and a lot of people think that Ali had Libra rising because poetry, you know, Libras love the arts, particularly poetry and music, and he was very entertaining and very charming.
Right.
always George and Jam, good cop, bad
Right.
cop.
But I mean, but isn't it kind of reminds me of Will Smith. I mean, like they have the similar style about them, and it's just it blows me away now that like we're talking about it, that a top guy playing the role of a top guy.
Well, art imitates astrology, and many great performances have been done of notable biographical figures by people of the same sign. It's
Right.
actually very common.
Do we know that? Do we know the sign of Ali?
Yeah, Ali is a Capricorn, just like Joe Frazier and George Foreman.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Hoover, Al Capone, Richard Nixon, Joseph Stalin, Howard Hughes, tough guys,
Okay.
dictators, Fulgencio Batista.
Got it.
Stalin and Mao killed about 50 to 100 million people between them,
Oh,
just
boy.
threats to their regime. But the funny thing about Capricorn is it's the goat with the fish's tail. So you got Elvis Presley, the lacquered hair, uptight conservative manners, and yet he has the pelvis, the fish's tail. Marlene Dietrich, top hat, tuxedo, very
Right.
then the wire net stockings in the Blue Angel. So
Right.
freaky deaky sign at heart, but on the surface, they're really uptight. Scrooge McDuck.
Right. So going forward, you think there's redemption? You think that you think he's going to come on the other side of this bigger and better?
He doesn't even need to be redeemed. The people who love him are going to love him. People hate him, going to hate him. I don't think anybody hates him for slapping Chris Rock,
Right.
and slapping Chris Rock. I think they all know it's show business, basically. And
Right.
Chris
Right.
didn't even touch his face. He didn't show any sign of pain at all.
Right. Okay. So basically, wrapping it up. I mean, another great breakdown of what makes Will Smith Will Smith. I mean, another story to be seen. Obviously,
For interrupting. Another
say
angle,
again.
another angle I just thought of with Will Smith and the slap
Yeah.
is maybe he offended a big guy, and this was his penance. Maybe it was even disguised. Maybe they said it would help his career, but it was actually a slap at him. Who got slapped? Will Smith got slapped.
Right.
With strictures or restrictions on his Oscar participation.
Right. Well, the funny thing about it, I mean, the way society has become nowadays, and with social media, and what's the saying? Never let a crisis go to waste, and things like all news is good news or something.
Bad
And
news.
it's like that night or the week after, it's all people were talking about. So whether he was in a good light or a bad light, unfortunately, fortunately, they were talking about it all week
Well,
back then.
you see, Will Smith is either a lightweight or a heavyweight. And he's been a lightweight his whole life. He's been a comic performer. Comic performers are lightweights because they're treated like lightweights by the culture. They're funny children. And we laugh at them, but we don't take them seriously. And they know that and they hate that. They
Right.
all are dramatic stars. They all want to do a dramatic role. But can they graduate to that level? Will Smith is a slice of angel food cake, even though he's black. I don't want to sound racist at all, but he's almost white bread. He's a white version of a black rapper. Okay, and he knows it, and people know that. So, I mean, he's not any of these hard ass, pardon language. He himself,
Right.
he never curses because his mom told him it was beneath him.
Right.
He's light. He's
Yeah.
okay.
I also think that he's super intelligent. I mean, getting into MIT. I mean, come on.
But what does he want? He wants to be heavy. That's all Libras. He wants to be a heavyweight. He wants people to say that guy's a badass.
So also, like, going forward, I mean, we'll see if that's going to be the next phase of his career.
Well, if he's smart, he'll go to the highest level, which is once again the Liberator Libra, even the name Liberator Libra, like Mohandas Gandhi and John Lennon. He'll
Right.
go to the highest level, which is a leader of humanity to higher truth. Will he go there? I kind of doubt it because he's so enmeshed in the system that he'll develop kind of like PC vehicles. But will
Right.
he fight the system? Will he ever say our world is corrupt and we need to wake up and take back our world? I don't
Right.
necessarily see that.
Well,
But
that's to be
real
seen.
hero,
That's definitely to be
a
seen.
real hero would do that.
Right, right. That's to be seen. Well, you know what, Joseph? Another spot on read about a fascinating guy. Like I said, I followed him for years, who dipped into some controversy. And we are going to see. We're going to see where it leads. It's almost like a soap opera. So, but I mean, I think, as we were talking about before, that all publicity is good publicity. So, 6 months is going to go by, a year is going to go by, and people aren't going to forget, but they're going to forgive.
Look at all the things celebrities have done that have given them black eyes.
Yeah.
Sinatra was one of the chief guys. He actually called a reporter who criticized his behavior a hooker at a large concert in Australia. I mean, that kind of thing, it kind of adds to the cachet because you know what? Bad boys are sexier than good boys.
Yeah.
We like our bad boys, but we also like them to be lovable and cute.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and Will Smith, though, the question is not whether he's lovable and cute or bad. The question is he light or heavy? Is he
Right.
heavy? Are you going to hear brothers on the street corner say, yeah, that Will Smith is a badass. He's for real.
Right. Right.
I don't know if that'll ever happen, to tell you the truth, but I think
Right.
he wants it to happen.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for joining and being a part of the all-knowing experience. And thanks again, Joseph.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Johnny. Great job.